See, I'm very much adept at bringing goods to the common man and raising the lot of him up to make him better in life.
Go on, here, I'll give you a silver, but I tell you, if my old man hears that I've been handing out silver pieces to you, toe rags, I'll get a hiding. He'll give me a good hiding.
Aldred. That's a terrible name for a murderer. Master Malloburn, you have to understand that this is wrong. That what you're about to do is wrong.
We'll sort out old Mole Flanders here with a few. I heard it wouldn't have been the first time.
Well, I could tell you some stories about your old dad.
Where do you think I heard them?
Attack, is it?
This is death attack.
Oh, this is an actual death attack, is it?
Death attack.
Tired from their exertions of the previous day, the four companions take their opportunity to rest and sleep in Marybelle's hovel. The young girl they have rescued is laid down to rest, with Marybelle promising to sit up and watch her for a while. However, as you're sleeping, Friar Dunstan, you're suddenly wakened up in the middle of the night. You're not sure what time of night it is, but as you sort of wake up, you're sort of like facing towards the small sort of like window. You can see it's pitch black outside, so it must be the middle of the night. And as your eyes start adjusting to the darkness a bit, as you sort of groggily wake up, you can see Marybelle, the young lady who's like a hovel you're staying in. She's leaning over you, and she's very gently nudging you with her hand and holding her other finger to her lips.
Okay, so I'll just whisper to her what's wrong.
Gwenneth, the young lady that they rescued from the witch hunter previously, seems to be sleepwalking. She's searching along the walls as though looking for something, and Friar Dunstan believes she's perhaps looking for a book and believes that she's in the library. She then appears to pantomime being discovered and striking out against her discoverer. Then, falling to her knees, she cradles this imaginary person, appearing to have done them great harm, before looking up and noticing a door that doesn't appear to have been there before. Friar Dunstan can obviously see none of this, since it is all in the dream world of Gwenneth. However, he wakes her gently and suggests that she's had a terrible ordeal and should rest herself now. Yes, of course, Gwenneth, sorry, I was having a horrible nightmare about being back in the library again. But you're right. I feel so tired and so weak. And she allows you to lead her back to this sort of like pile of straw and sort of lie her down on it.
Okay, so I'll just kind of sit there and watch her for a few minutes to make sure she goes to sleep.
Yeah, after a few moments, she drifts back off to sleep, but it's a fitful sleep. She keeps sort of like tossing and turning in her sleep, and occasionally you'll hear sort of like odd snatches of like some murmured conversation, like, "No, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it." With Gwenneth now sleeping and the four companions all awake, they begin to make plans to head out to Tomegate and the Grand Library. However, they're a little uncertain as to whether, in her frail state, they can take Gwenneth with them. Marybelle agrees that she can't be dragged around the city in the state she's in, and the lieutenant suggests that perhaps he could sell the 2 barrels of spices he's recovered to recoup some of the cost of caring for the young woman. Marybelle says, "Well, of course, I mean, you could get a pretty penny for both of those barrels, but don't feel you need to pay me for looking after. I mean, I'm sure it's what any God-fearing person would do. I mean, especially in times like this where there's people dropping dead of the plague. I mean, the least we can do is try and look after each other. I mean, who else is going to?"
Well, there was an ulterior motive to my suggestion. I don't wish to carry them around myself. So,
well, if you don't wish to carry them, you're welcome to leave them here. They'll be waiting for you when you get back.
Thank you very much.
Merrybell talks a little about how the least they can do is look after each other, especially with the plague raging through the city and the people in the inner wards having effectively isolated themselves to try and keep the plague at bay.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Pretty rough. Still, I suppose it'll all blow over. These things have a habit of turning out not so bad in the end, I guess.
Well, let's just hope that there's enough of us left to enjoy it when it does blow over. She says, every time I see one of those plague doctors wandering through the streets and chalk marking the doors, just seeing them makes me shiver.
Gives me the bleeding shivers, I know that. I'll be glad to see the back of it.
The group discuss how they're going to get across the Great Thames Water River, given that Bridgetown, the only safe way across, is heavily guarded by peakers who have been employed by those of the more upscale inner wards to keep anyone who may be sick out of the inner district, and this has led to invasive searching and all manner of hassle for anyone who looks poor. Big Mick suggests that perhaps they might be able to borrow a boat off one of the mudlarks who works the river and perhaps get across that way. However, Jackdaw suggests that since they've got Lieutenant Uffington and the Friar, they may be able to blag their way across and not have to resort to violence at all. As you're having this conversation from outside, so like moving down the main street, sort of like adjacent to Ocular Mews, you can hear quite faintly, but you can hear the voice of a man going, "Oh, get up there."
They're a different department. One department puts them up. And
That's it. I'm gonna investigate. I'm intrigued by this. These strange calls of the locals.
Okay, no problem. You slip out through the door of Merrybell's hovel and make your way down the zigzagged narrow alleyway of Ocular Mews onto the main thoroughfare. As you're sort of like heading onto like the muddy cobbled streets of Slaughterward, you can see what appears to be a tired looking old man, like deeply lined face, quite sort of like tanned skin. He's wearing like a simple canvas shirt, like obviously like working trousers and boots. You can see he has like what appears to be like a small sort of leather thong, almost like a crude whip sort of hanging from his belt, and you can see in front of him what appear to be 6 mud cows. Now, mud cows are a common beast of burden in the Midderlands. They're large bovine creatures that have almost like rhino-like horns and sort of small tentacles hanging down from their mouths. But they're a common beast of burden. They're used for meat. They're used for pulling wagons, stuff like that. And you can see like he's driving like half a dozen of these like mud cows. They can be quite. I mean, you'd know about being in Slaughterward. You'd have certainly seen some of them being bought in, Mick. You know, they can be a bit dangerous when they stampede or they get a bit rowdy, but normally they're fairly docile herd creatures. That's what makes them so popular with farmers. And you can see as he's sort of walking behind them, he's got this like sort of like little strip of like leather thonging, and he's just gently sort of like going like that on the back of the 2 rearmost mud cows, and he's like, "Go on there, get along there, go on!" And he's like slowly like driving them down this main street.
I'll just give him the sort of like the local nod sort of thing that I imagine we folk in this area would have their own bit of a greeting to identify themselves as Slaughterward folk.
Morning. He's like, "I didn't expect to see anyone at this time in the morning. Just taking the herd to market. Well, assuming I can get across the bridge, that is."
Oh yeah, get in trouble on the bridge. I'm headed that way with a few of the lads myself.
He stops for a little bit, seemingly like glad of the rest. Like I say, he's quite an old man. He looks like he's a bit tired. He's also been like driving these animals, probably from one of the outer wards, so he's walked quite a way. You can see like his shoes are a little bit threadbare. He's obviously a farmer of some kind from the outer wards. He seems grateful for a bit of a rest. He stops and he takes just a little clay pipe out of his satchel, like puts a bit of like a plug of tobacco in it, flint and steels it open, has a a puff on that. Mick suggests that he and his companions accompany the farmer to Bridgetown, since they have some trading of their own to do in the inner wards. The old farmer, seemingly glad of the company, agrees to this, so the companions strap their barrels of spices to the mule and begin leading it along after the farmer. And they start moving off in the northerly direction of Netherwalk. So hopefully you guys will be able to see my arrow on the map. This is basically the route that the trader is planning on taking. Straight across Netherwalk, through Nail Scathithe and to Bridgetown. So it's a couple of miles before you're in like the centre of Netherwalk. You're passing through Slaughterwood. It's very quiet at the minute, but people are just starting to get up. You can see like a few sort of like butchers, coming out, getting their shops ready for the day's trade, etc. But it's fairly quiet at the moment. Like I say, it's about 6, sort of 6:30 in the morning by the time you get moving. But you can see a few people wearing like butchers' aprons, coming out, setting like tables up outside their shops, etc. A couple of them like give you the nod as you sort of like wander past.
Oi, oi.
But you're otherwise it's a fairly quick passage through Slaughterwood. You do see, unfortunately, as you move, a number of houses marked with the sinister red chalk X that is the sign of the plague. The group continue their journey into Netherwalk, a place of dubious delights and entertainments. As they pass by an alleyway, a figure reclining against a nearby wall hisses at them from out of the shadows. Psst. Psst.
Yeah.
So, wait.
What do you reckon, lad? Should I go and see what this geezer's up to?
Yeah, go and talk to him. He might need help.
Okay. Why are you laughing, Lieutenant?
Yes,
what could go wrong?
I always look on the bright side.
Very wise. A man after my own heart. No sense being miserable about these sort of things.
Okay, so you head over to this weaselly-looking scrawny man.
I puff my chest up a bit and put my collar up on my old sheepskin coat. Give it a bit of the old,
You walk over and he's like, "Hey, you interested in the bears?"
Bears? Bear fighting?
Yeah. He says, "Wow."
Early.
He says, "Well, yeah." He says, "Yeah, but could put the word out of it." He's like, "Look, I happen to know there's going to be a big fight on later on today." He's like,
"Oh, yeah."
He's look, it's taking place down at the Apple Gripe. He's like, and he says, "Look, Big Bruno's a sure thing." So look, I've seen him fight a few times. He's like, I don't care what bear they're getting to fight him. There's no way he's toppling Big Bruno. He's like, if you want to make yourself a bit of easy money, you want to get yourself down there, fella.
Oh yeah, and what are you telling me this exactly?
He's like, well, trying to draw a bit of interest, Wow, what were there being people who don't like strictly approve of like the noble sport of bear fighting? You got to try and put the word out.
The apple gripe, what'd you call it?
Yeah, the Apple Gripe, that's right.
The apple gripe. Yeah. All right, well, I'm a bit busy, man. You know how it is. I've got to duck in here, dive in, bit of this, a bit of that, a bit...
He says, well, yeah, I know how it goes. Everyone's got to make a living, haven't they? He says, well, but if you find yourself a bit of a loose end come noon, get yourself down the gripe, and he says, well, you won't regret it. Mick returns to his companions and tells them what the strange fellow has told him. However, they decide to forego the dubious pleasure of the bear fighting and continue their journey, accompanied by the old farmer. So you presumably all continue your travels through Netherwalk, and again about an hour and a half later, you start moving into the ward of Nether Scalehide. Now, as you're heading into this ward, you're getting much closer to the banks of the river. The smell of fish and the sort of the pungent aroma, let's put it that way, of the sewage encrusted waters of the river starts to become ever more present as you move deeper into this ward. The sort of instruments and the various accoutrements of entertainment that you saw outside the buildings of Netherwalk slowly start to be replaced by like fishing gear, nets, waders, stuff like that, as you start moving into Nether Scalehide. And you can see there's actually quite a few people about here, presumably because they're getting up early to like go and like do a bit of fishing in the morning, etc. Although, to be fair, what kind of fish you could catch in like the river probably isn't really worth thinking about, but there are some people who do that. As they continue towards Bridgetown, the group pass by a small gaggle of fishermen complaining about their current situation. Well, it ain't right the amount of tax we've got to pay on a day's catch, I tell you. So, well, I never would have flown in my old man's day. He said, well, how's nobody supposed to make a living now with him taking like that much of that percentage of your catch every day? The other one goes, well, you're right there, Fred. He says, well, I reckon about half of what I catch just goes straight to go, what the bloody hell does the Crown need my fish for? Like, they ain't got enough money to buy their own damn fish. But no, they've got to keep stealing food out of my mouth to line their own pockets with. Well, I reckon you're right there. Tom. Still, not a lot we can do about it, is there really? You know, I mean, what we're going to do, it's not like we can like refuse to pay them. You know, taxes is taxes when it comes down to that. And he's like, well, I don't mind paying taxes, but all I'm saying, the amount they charge you, well, it just ain't right. And then they continue much in the sort of same vein, you know, grumbling about taxes and how as the city's got bigger, there's less and less fish in the river, and they're expected to pay more and more for the privilege of fishing on the great riverbanks. And he's like, well, if it ain't bad enough for that, you got the mudlarks and that are always getting in the way, always scratting about, looking for any old bit of tat they can sell, scaring the fish off. And that one goes, well, if you keep your voice down, Tom, you might catch more fish. He's like, well, don't give me that, I'll come round there and box your ears for you. He's like, I was catching fish just fine before they started showing up. He's like, don't give me that, you ain't caught anything decent in the last few weeks. I caught a fish with this bloody big, I tell you. He's like, yeah, maybe that big. And they're carrying, and that's we're having like a bit of banter between themselves. It all seems quite good natured. They're obviously all known each other for quite some time. They're just like ridding, like needling each other as you guys walk past. Continuing on to Bridgetown, they're met by a number of peekers at the gate. The peekers spend an hour and a half checking over the mud cows and the father before pronouncing him free of the plague and opening the south bridge gate to allow the farmer through. As the rest of the party members approach, the lead peeker steps in front of them and says, he immediately looks at the lieutenant, because he's obviously the most well dressed, so he would just naturally assume that he's in charge. And he says, right then, sir, if you don't mind, what's your business in Bridgetown?
We're travelling through into the city. We deal in exotic spices. Lieutenant Richard Uffington is the name, perhaps you'll recognise it.
Oh yes, sir. He says, there can't be anyone in London who doesn't know the Uffington family, sir. He said, you'll forgive me, sir, but as I said to the fella before, new rules from the Crown. We've got to thoroughly examine any people and goods that are going across the bridge. You know, safety measures, precautions against the plague and that.
I hope this isn't going to take 2 hours.
He says, well, I can't promise anything, sir. He says, well, but they'd have my guts for garters if I just let you past and you did spread the plague into the inner wards. What are my job's worth, sir?
Is it a very well-paying job?
Well, it's better than some, sir. Better than some, you know, and for a fella of humble beginnings like myself as well, you couldn't really ask for much better, could you? I mean, begging your pardon, sir, I mean, not all of us are born with the advantages that coming from an inner ward family brings.
advantages. Smile at that.
Right, if you'll direct one of your men to bring your cargo forward, sir, I'll give it a once over, and hopefully we can get you on your way as quickly as possible.
Jacques, bring it forward, please.
I pick up. And I was in the reverie because they were talking about some stuff that I was not interested in. So I turned around to the lieutenant and said, "Quoi?"
How is Jackdaw dressed at the moment?
Let me get you the juicy details. So, he's got boots on, kaftan, robe, cloak, cowl, and he's bundles and bundles of scarves to cover his face as well as the cowl.
So as you start to like moving forward with the donkey with the two barrels on it, the Pika looks at you, Lieutenant, and he says, "Oh, you didn't tell me you were going to be bringing a leper through, sir."
Not a leper.
Oh, begging your pardon. So it's just the way he's dressed and all. Well, I'm sure you could see how I could make that mistake. I'm sure you'll understand we're all a bit on edge at the minute due to the sickness in the outer wards.
I'll as he's like going towards his apology goal here, I'll like lean on uncomfortably close and just like whisper to him like, "I like to keep safe from the plague as much as you, hence the fabrics."
You notice he sort of like he like takes half a step back as you like lean into him, and he's like, "Oh, well, right you are." And he says, "Just these two barrels and the animal, is it, sir?"
Is he addressing me or the lieutenant?
No, he's still addressing the lieutenant.
Yeah.
Yes. If we haven't discussed it earlier, I was presume that Friar and Big Mick are actually with us on this venture. So I also mentioned Friar and his associate are also with us. So four humans, one sumpter beast, and two barrels.
Right, if you'll please have your foreign manservant pop the lids on these two barrels. We'll have a quick route around, and then we can hopefully get you on your way, sir.
I'll pull out a knife, still uncomfortably close to him, just like whoosh, and go to like
the least amount of rummaging possible.
Okay, so as you see Jack Dodge like whoops out a knife, you see the Pika goes for like what looks to be like a short sword on his belt, but then as you like pop the lids off the barrel, he draws it, but he's not like ha ha. He's just sort of like drawing it.
On guard.
Yeah, he's just sort of like holding it in his hands.
Yeah,
and he says,
so I'll like wedge like it's his nails or whatever. I'll like wedge it open a bit.
Yeah, you sort of prise it open. He moves over and he's basically getting his sword and he's like poking it into like the spices in there to make sure like you've not got anything hidden at the bottom of it. Or
yeah,
anything.
no people in there. Basically,
exactly,
is what he's doing.
Pretty much.
I'll be cringing.
So as you open the first barrel, you smell this delicious waft of cinnamon issues forth from it, and he pokes around a bit with his sword, and then he's like he nods and like puts the lid back on.
Oh yeah.
Moves over to the second one, starts like poking around in there. Repeats the same action, puts it back on. He says, "Right, well, those both look to be fine." And he moves over to the donkey and he starts sort of like going over to the donkey, and he sort of has a bit of a look about it, and he says, "Wow, seems alright."
I'll sort of like position myself between him and the donkey, and it's like, I sincerely hope that you're not going to poke the donkey as well.
Oh no. My goodness, no, sir. I'm just giving it a quick once over to, make sure it's got no like buboes or anything like that on it.
I cannot stand donkey pokers. And I'll just let that hang in the air. It's just like, stand back.
He looks a bit awkward for a few moments, and then he's like, "Oh no, very, very good, sir." And he basically lifts up some like the blankets and that are on the donkey, and just has a look over it, makes sure it's fine, and then he nods and says, "Well, the beast seems absolutely fine." And then he gets like a bit of an awkward look on his face, and he's like, I'm sorry to ask you this, sir," he says to the lieutenant, "but we've got to give you and the rest of your party the once over as well, to, just to make sure you're not bringing anything that we don't want to be brought into the inner wards. My apologies for this, sir, but orders is orders."
Do you have a room?
He basically sort of looks around and he's like,
You mean you want me to disrobe in public?
I think that's about the size of it, Lieutenant. He wants you to drop your kegs.
he says,
Certainly not.
I'm terribly sorry, sir. I didn't realise you're a military man." He says, "Well, I wish I did have the facilities here, sir, to give you more privacy, but well, unfortunately, they haven't provided us with anything like that. We've just been told we've got to check everyone who comes through." He said, "Well, all the orders have come down from the head peaker to us, and well, they've come from the Queen. I can't do anything about it, sir."
Very well. I'll let you know.
He said, "I'll tell you what I could do to preserve your modesty a bit, sir." He says, You've got those blankets on the back of the donkey. I could get a couple of my boys to hold up the blankets for you and shield you off, so you're not there in your scanties, sir. If that would make you feel a little bit more at ease."
Don't much trouble. Forget I mentioned it. That's stripped down as far as necessary.
He's like, "Just your shirt will be fine, sir. I don't need to see you're meeting two veg or anything like that."
Okay. Well, you do see various cuts and bruises, old war wounds upon his torso, a finely muscled torso too.
Okay.
Even if he does say so himself.
Okay, so as you sort of take your shirt off, like you say, you're covered in all these small scars and whatever. As you take it off, you see his eyebrow raise, and you can tell from looking at him, he's obviously no sort of medical professional at all. He's basically just sort of been told to look out for anything that might be suspect, and you're sort of "I am wound man." So his eyebrow raises. You see a couple of the other peakers sort of move in to back him up in case it gets a bit feisty, and he's like oh, and again he looks really awkward and apologetic. So obviously you're someone of noble birth, and he's just a scummy peaker, and he's like, I'm really sorry, sir. I'm going to have to ask you to wait till I can get a physic down to have a look at you. He says, "I'm not qualified to tell whether those wounds are old wounds or whether they're a result of a plague or whatever. I'm going to have to get someone professional down to give you a look over."
Well, you should.
Can I jump in here and...
Yeah. I'll as I see that the friar is moving in, I'll back off and stow my blade.
So I will just jump in and say that I am a healer, well known. Suspect that most of the peakers have probably heard of me, and that I can contest that this man is well, and that these are just old war wounds.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to ask you to make me a charisma roll, if you wouldn't mind. Is charisma one of your primary attributes?
It is.
Okay, splendid. At which point you need a 12 or more.
Oh, fuck.
Don't forget you get to add your charisma modifier and your level to this.
Yeah, so that's 8 total.
Okay.
So I guess we're going to war.
He looks at you, and again, he looks as though he almost looks as though he wants to sort of say, "Yeah, it's fine," but he's really apologetic. He looks really awkward, and he's like, he holds his hands and says, "I'm really sorry, Father. I'd love to take your word for it, and I'd love to let you and the gentleman past. I really would. You've no idea." He says, "Doesn't give me any joy to be out here hassling folk, but well, like I said, I'm just an honest worker, sir. I just follow my orders. That's how I keep my job, sir." He says, "And well, I can't really let him past on your say so when you're part of his retinue, sir. I'm sure you're a very fine healer. I don't want to cast any aspersions on your light, but well, you're part of his party. You could just be saying anything to get me to let him through. I'm not saying you are, sir. I'm just saying that I won't be doing my job right if I just let you through. My apologies.
You question openly a man of the gods in the streets.
He's, as you say that, it's like his look of uncomfortableness becomes almost like a palpable thing, and you can obviously tell that like most people in the Midlands and certainly in Great London, he's probably a regular churchgoer and religious himself, and he looks quite uncomfortable with having to question a friar. And he's like, I'm sorry, sir. He's like, I really don't like to. Like, so if it were just down to me, I'd let you past. No harm done. But
we could ease your conscience.
He's like, wow, I don't know about that, sir. Like I say, orders is orders, sir. And he says, well, I couldn't live with it on my conscience if I let people past, and it spread the plague to the inner wards, and even more people died because of it.
Yes, that is understandable, but next time you go for the service, I would bring in some extra donations, just in case.
He looks a bit unsure what you're sort of getting at, and he's like, not entirely sure what you mean, sir.
For the
It
effort
means that you
caused.
won't be welcome to the next church service that you go to.
Oh, I'm very sorry you feel like that, gentlemen, but well, like I say, it's orders handed down from the Queen herself. Well, and the Queen's the head of the church, isn't she? I can't go against her orders.
How many? There's 6 peakers, is there?
Yeah, that's right. 6 people.
And are they all this side of the closed gate, or is there some of them on the inside?
They're all this side of the gate. Obviously, the gate's been shut as the farmer's gone through. You can see that there's 2 of them stood behind this very apologetic peaker that you're talking to now, but and there's the other 3 are sort of stood by the gate, so leaning on their spears, sort of just watching what's going on. Obviously, none of you guys have made sort of overtly aggressive moves, so none of them are like, "Haha, we're ready for combat." But
Well, if they don't recognise war wounds,
well, looking at them, Lieutenant, you can see that they've probably never been outside the city in their life. The most they probably deal with is a couple of drunks who've got in their cups in a tavern, and sort of or maybe having to drag someone who to debtor's prison.
right, I'll be waiting over here then to take a couple of steps and sit down with some snacks or whatever.
He says, right, well, then he turns to one of the men. He's like, go and get a physic from Bridgetown and bring him back here to have a look at the gentleman quick as you can, so we can speed him on his way. And then he turns around to Mick, the friar, and Jack Dunn. He says, while that's going on, while we're waiting, if the 3 of you wouldn't mind just taking your shirts off, so I can give you all a once over, it'll save a bit of time.
Yeah, well, Mick will whip his shirt off, and he'll juggle his belly at him and do a little. He'll squeeze it to make a talking mouth. I ain't got the plague.
Does Mick have tattoos, and is one of them on his belly, so that the belly button is the pig's mouth or something?
Yeah, something like that. He's got a little smiley face, and he does his trick with it. It makes it look like his stomach's talking. I ain't got the plague.
Classic guy.
Okay, at this point, Mick, can you please make me a wisdom roll?
Yes. So wisdom, -1. Okay, and it's so it's an 8. It's an 18, isn't it? I need.
Okay, yep. 18, splendid. So as you're sort of doing this trick, you're in front of this guy who's looking he's standing there looking at his face why is this occurring? Is this man addled? What's he doing? You hear one of the 3 peakers who's stood leaning against the gate, leans over to his mate, and he goes, "Look at that fat fucker there, just fucking disgusting." And his mate's fuck's sake.
I just laugh. And
Sorry, go ahead.
I might even just drop my trousers and moon them as well.
The peaker was stood in front of you like, oh, that's not necessary, sir. It's fine. You look fine. That's grand, he says. And he moves on to the friar and he says, again, I'm sorry to ask you this, friar, but if you wouldn't mind slipping out of your robes.
So I'll briefly slip out of my robes.
Yeah, he gives you like a thorough look over, and then he says, yeah, everything seems fine there, friar. And he sort of almost apologetically hands your robes back to you. Then he turns to Jackdaw, and he says, would you mind taking your shirt off?
And he's like doing the thing like,
yeah,
this thing off.
He's doing the standard Great London method of talking to foreigners, which is he's talking very slowly and very loudly and like pantomiming everything he's talking about. Like, would you take your shirt off so I can look at you?
Yeah, so I'll. It takes him a while because he's all like wrapped up in his scarves, because there's a lot of them. So he starts undoing the scarves and just like putting them on like the barrel on the donkey, just like laying them scarf over scarf, and finally like gets the caftan free enough to actually like disrobe. So he's got a tunic underneath, so like the caftan goes on the donkey. I guess like this is the first time we sort of see more of Jackdaw. So he's
indeed. What does Jackdaw look like? He's been swathed in clothes so far.
Yeah, so he's like a malnourished, scrawny fella. Skin sort of like the color of ash, maybe. Like he looks unwell with a capital U, and when the tunic comes off, he's probably got because John, we were talking about like the fact that he was used in the ritual, basically. So he's got like gruesome scarring on his body. So like just like probably half of his back is just like flend.
After seeing the scars and various ritual marks that cover Jackdaw's body, the Peaker is not keen to let them through at all. However, after some negotiation, he agrees to send one of his men to fetch an apothecary or a physic to come and examine him more thoroughly. Eventually, the physic arrives and moves to examine Jackdaw.
Well, let's have a look then. He gets his spectacles and walks over. He starts out looking at all your scratches and your wounds.
The physic examines Jackdaw's body and appears to recognise some of the scars carved into his frame. However, he gives a little outward sign of it, save that he tucks a small black feather, perhaps from a raven or a crow, into the pocket of Jackdaw's garment before pronouncing him plague-free. The apologetic leader of the Peakers agrees to send them all through. However, when the lieutenant says that he doesn't want to go through all the rigmarole when they get to the North Gate, he agrees to send one of his youngest junior recruits, Jacob, with them to testify that they have already been checked when they get to the Northern Gate, to hopefully spare them any further inconvenience.
He can tell them that Mr. Gray's giving you all the once over and that you're fine, and that should see you through the North Gate.
Bad bleeding time and all. Let's get going.
You heard me, Jacob. You go and ease your men and make sure you're quick about it. And then once you've seen them through the North Gate, get yourself straight back here and back to your patrol. Don't go like hanging about or like time wasting. I know what you youngsters are like. He's like, I won't, Sarge. Honest, I'll be straight back. He's like, yeah, you see you are, my lad.
Accompanied by the young Peaker, Jacob, the party begin making their way across the bridge, threading their way through the crammed shops and stores that line the prime real estate of Bridgetown. At the northern end, a large crowd has gathered. There is a frisson of excitement between them, and they're pointing excitedly over the edge of the bridge. Moving to have a look, the group can see there appears to be a bundle of rags at first, but then resolves itself into a dead body floating down the river.
Does it look like it's brown bread?
You can't see any signs of movement. I mean, it's very difficult to tell whether it's actually a body, 'cause it's just like a bundle of rags almost. But as you move up beside the friar and you're looking over, you can just about make out. You think you see like an arm and maybe like a bit of like the side of the face like showing through the cloth. But it doesn't look like the person's like struggling or trying to swim or anything like that. So you think, yeah, probably they're brown bread. Moving to the edge of the bridge, Jackdaw begins to make an attempt to retrieve the body from the polluted waters of the Great Thames Water.
He's undoing his belt and like pulling out this 50 foot of rope, and like unhooks this grappling hook, which he has like hidden under his kaftan. Is like takes it off his shoulder, and he's like pushing through the people to get to the edge, and he's like leaning over the edge and lowering the rope with the hook on the end to like try and catch the body as it moves.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. You're an assassin. I'm not going to make you make a roll for this. That's absolute. You're just trying to hook like.
Yeah, I'm just trying to grab onto like clothing or whatever.
Okay, so you lean right. Basically, you're sort of jammed in between Mick and the friar. You lean right over, they're like giving you a bit of support. You lower the rope down with the hook and you hook it through this bundle of rags that's floating under the bridge. It's sort of like it starts going under, but you like grab hold of the rope and you're sort of holding it where it is, although you can feel like the current trying to like pull it along. Yeah. But you've sort of like you've wedged your feet against like the side of the bridge, so it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
A couple of people are like actually like applaud you. And there's like an excited like murmur and frisson of conversation goes through the crowd as like this strange looking obvious like foreigner steps up and just like
and yeah, just pulls off ninja tricks.
Exactly, yeah, just like hooks this body.
Yeah.
Come on in, Jack, fetch him up.
Jackdaw hauls up the body using his grappling hook. However, the poor unfortunate who was in the river is long dead. A couple of peekers from nearby begin to disperse the crowd, whilst Friar Dunstan says the last rites over the body. The peekers wait respectfully until he is finished, and then one of them leans into the friar and in a soft, gentle voice says, excuse me, Father, but for public safety, we've got to move the body off the bridge. Given a look at the clothing, I expect, unfortunately, it's the potter's field for this unfortunate. But if you need a minute, Father, please let us know. But you just give us the nod as soon as you're happy for us to move the body. And he says,
so I'll just finish up and then give him the nod and kind of bring Jackdaw away.
The peekers load the body of the poor unfortunate into a small cart and head out of the south gate from Bridgetown, no doubt carrying it to a place of burial.
And how far from the north gate are we? Is it like
you're like a few minutes away? You can easily just like walk up to it. That's not a problem. As the group heads northwards along the bridge, Lieutenant Orpington locates a likely-looking trader and sells the 2 barrels of spice from their mule. And you will have got 200 for your barrels of spice. Lieutenant, you can add that to your sheet.
I split it between us. That's 50 each. There you are.
Okay, so the lieutenant says he's sold the spice, and he's like, boom, there's 50 gold pieces each.
You are a generous man, Lieutenant.
Just old Mick's just there looking at this cash in disbelief. He's kind of speechless for a minute, and that's saying something.
Imagine how much meat you could buy with that. Enough to fill this Patty's stomach 10 times over.
Okay, so as you're having this conversation, you can see quite a sort of jowly, like sort of fat man wearing a cap, who's sort of stood over on the other side of the bridge, who's the person that the lieutenant traded with. He's got like both the donkey and the barrels, and he's got like a young sort of lad like taking the barrels down, and he's looking quite pleased with himself, sort of like rubbing his hands together a little bit. and he's got like a big sort of like money pouch on his belt, and he's like directing this young boy to like get these barrels of spice down and get them to his stall.
The four companions, accompanied by Jacob, the junior peaker, continue across the bridge.
What's the crack with picking pockets in Castles and Crusades, John? I haven't got that written on my sheet. I don't know whether I've done that wrong or whether that's correct.
Well, since you're a rogue, let me just check it for you. I'd hate to tell you wrong, so just give me a moment.
So that will be on page 45.
Indeed it is. So, just to break down the rules a bit for you, the way it works, it's a rogue ability. The way it works is thus. A rogue can use the ability on a successful dex check to remove the contents of a pocket or pouch, or otherwise take something from a person without being noticed. Success may require the rogue to cut the purse or pouch from the target. A penalty to the check is equal to the level or hit dice of the targeted victim. So, the higher level or more hit dice someone has, the harder it is to pick their pockets. This skill also allows you to perform sleight of hand manoeuvres. So you could like palm a card or like hide a coin up your sleeve or stuff like that.
And I've got that.
Yep.
I haven't got that written down.
But basically all you need to do is you need to just like make a dex check. You add your level, you add your dex modifier to it. It works the same as a normal check. If you beat any sort of non-rogues or people who don't have it as like a class ability, they wouldn't get to add their level to it, which is fairly minimal difference at the moment, but obviously as you get higher in level you'll start to really excel at that, whereas other people will sort of stay the same at it.
Yeah, that's quite tidy, that, isn't it? A tidy little rule there.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to the testimony of Jacob, the junior peaker, the four adventurers are allowed through the north gate of Bridgetown with fairly little inconvenience. Jacob then leaves them to return to his round. As they begin heading into Scalehithe, they can see that fish are everywhere, and obviously that is one of the main industries of the ward, although it appears a little bit more upmarket than Nether Scalehithe. There are people smoking fish, barbecuing them, etc. on all of these streets. And the smell of mackerel and brine is ever present. And they're like shouting at people as they go by, selling like a bit of like mackerel, like mud skipper and stuff like that. As you continue walking through the district, sort of presumably still making your way directly towards Tomegate, where the college is and where this great library is, you can hear a man who appears to be like a little bit tipsy, a little bit worse for wear. He's singing an old fisherman's ballad. It's quite bawdy, very rude, peppered with sort of obscenities that we won't go into. But the gist of this song he's singing as you walked past appears to be that there was once a sailor who was in love with a beautiful woman. However, as he went out to sea promising his lady love that he would return one day, but unfortunately his ship was dragged down to the depths by the fell kraken, and his wife pined away waiting for the return of her husband, which was never going to occur.
Do I know this song, John? Is it a well-known one?
You've heard. At first, you can't quite place it. But you're like, I know that tune from somewhere. But as you're heading through, you're like, oh, I know this tune. I know the version you've heard is like the Outer Ward version. Like he's singing like the clean sort of like safe for radio version. Just like a few like cheeky sort of bawdy details in it. Whereas the one you know is full of puns about the kraken and like where its tentacles went when it like grabbed him and pulled him like down below the water. And basically, I'll
join in then with the proper lyrics.
Yeah. You like bust out your like X-rated version of this this kraken-related song. At which point it seems to like shock the man slightly at first, because obviously he's from the inner ward. They're not really used to like the bawdy banter of you like outer ward folk. But he seems to be quite drunk, and like after a while he sort of he starts getting a bit into the spirit of it, and he like throws an arm around you, and he's like singing along. He's getting half the words wrong, to be honest, because like I say, he seems like a little bit smashed. But he carries on singing with you, and he's like clapping you on the back, and eventually you get to the end of this song, and he's like laughing and having a bit of a joke with you. You can't really, a lot of what he says doesn't really seem to be intelligible because he's like really, really drunk. He's slurring his words a lot, but he's like, back the crack of turn over nothing. You know, I never thought about a tentacle slipping right up now. Okay, that'd bring tears to your eyes, wouldn't it? It's just like, no wonder he went down to the bride.
Just pat him on the back. Yeah, all right, mate.
He seems
Didn't catch your name. What's your name, old son?
Joe, mate, Joe.
All right, Joe. I'm Mick. These are my mates.
He turned out and he goes, it's not to be all. I mean, what's going on there?
What ails you?
Well, nothing, man. We've had a few drinks. Want to do a bit of fishing later on?
A few too many ails him.
Yeah, so like Jack does like leans back from his inquiries because he's like, why would you be like this? But this is like he picks up the word drink and is like, I guess. Like
as he leans towards you and he sort of his breath, which is fairly pungent, washes over you. It basically smells like he's drunk a bottle of methylated spirits. Is how his breath smells. And you can see like as even though he's talking to you, Jack Doran, like you're there and he's where I am. It is like his eyes aren't focusing on you properly. And, like he puts a hand on your shoulder, almost as if to like make sure that like that's where you actually are. Like, no,
so he's looking through me.
Yeah, basically.
Into infinity, probably.
And he's like, I do have a few drinks, I don't have shit, I don't have a few drinks, or I come right here.
The party leaves the drunk fisherman Joe behind and continues north into Messon Ward.
So you're making fairly good time moving through the various districts of the city. As you head into Messon Ward, the sort of fishermen's huts and stuff like that, although they're quite well maintained, give way to what appear to be a large number of sort of almost immaculate sort of like shops. They look quite professional, quite well turned out, and everywhere you look appears to be sort of have boards advertising various sort of fine craftsmen of some variety. As you look around, you can see like a sign advertising like quality furniture makers, silversmiths. There's a couple of jewelers you go past, candle makers, apothecaries, enamellers. Basically, all of the sort of finer, sort of more detailed and intricate trades that you would expect to see. And basically, there's a common saying in Greater London that if it's not a heavy industrial item and it's good quality, then it probably comes from Messon Ward. This is where like all the sort of the raw materials to make fine sort of intricate little items go to be made into what they're finally going to be.
I want to pick up some bling, guys. I need to get down to jewelers. I've got a few quid now. I want to get myself a big fat sovereign ring, like
on your pinky.
Yeah, man. Yeah, better get. Yeah.
Stopping at the jeweller's, Big Mick used some of his recently acquired cash to buy himself a large gold sovereign ring with the heraldry of Slaughter Ward, 2 crossed cleavers and a pig in the centre of it, and his name, Big Mick, emblazoned around the edge. Lieutenant Uffington grabs some food from one of the more slightly high-class eateries, and then Jackdaw suggests that they take a small divergence from their established route to go through the Wart Goblin district of Bile Ward, having heard a little about it and the strange edibles that the goblins are known for purveying. As you sort of head through there, you can see that one of the sort of larger landmarks is a sort of stone statue, and it depicts a hook-nosed wart goblin. For those of you who don't know, there you'll see a lot of wart goblins around as you're sort of heading through there. They're these sort of like pot-bellied small creatures with these large like sort of hooked noses, sort of like dusky orange, like maroon skin. See, you can hear the constant sort of like hammering, because the war goblins are renowned for being like sort of forgers and blacksmiths. Pretty much every other building you come across seems to be like a forge or a metal works, and there's this constant like hammering sound and sound of chaos sort of going on as you head through Bile Ward, which, if I remember correctly, I actually prepared some sound for that, so I'll try and start that now, see how that goes on.
Are they quite good? Are they actually quite good craftsmen then?
Yes, indeed, they're reputed to be excellent craftsmen. Now, one of the reasons that there's such a conflict between the Guild of Blacksmiths in Blackgate and the Goblins in Bile Ward is because the Goblins are willing to, let's just say they're willing to operate with less safety protocols in place, shall we say, in order to get the job done. And it's yeah, okay, occasionally one of their forges explodes, or a few of them get killed in horrible accidents involving metalworks, but that doesn't seem to dissuade them, whereas the Guild of Smiths in Blackgate take it very seriously, and everything's got to be done safely and properly according to the book. Whereas the Goblins are more sort of we've had this mad new idea for a new type of weapon. I was going to smash some metal together and forge it and see what happens. Continuing through Bile Ward, they walk past a goblin who appears to be selling roasted rats on sticks. Rat on a stick! Rat on a stick! Get rat on a stick! Yeah, rat on a stick!
I'm probably leaning over to my companions to say, I would not, as the first course, I would not try. If you haven't had goblin food before, I would not perhaps try the rat on the stick.
Passing on the dubious delights of rat on a stick, they continue making their way through the goblin-led ward until they come across another dusky orange wart goblin who appears to be selling mushrooms out of a punnet.
Hey, excuse me, I would purchase fungal elements from you.
He's like, you what?
The food.
Oh, right. Mushrooms. He's like, wow, one gold piece of punnet. Finest mushrooms you'll find in Great London. Picked them myself. I've got
Very
green
good.
ones, I've got white ones, I've got ones that'll make you grow your hair back, I've got ones that'll make you think you've grown your hair back, one that'll make you not care about your hair.
We'll take 2 green ones and 2 white ones. 2 green ones, 1 white one, and is Mick balding? Or does he have a full head?
He's not all that old,
Mm-hmm.
but he kind of keeps it like a sort of a skinhead, so it's sort of shaven, like a crew cut sort of thing.
Yeah. How about the friar? Does the friar have all the hair?
Yes, he does.
Okay, so I'll 2 green ones, 1 white one, and 1 that grows your hair back.
Right, you want it? That's 1 gold. I'll put it for you. Put me in this little bag for you. And he takes out what appears to be a very crumpled paper bag that looks like it's been scavenged from somewhere else. And he drops a handful of these mushrooms in it.
There's a Starbucks
He's
on
just
the side.
So that throws him in. He doesn't really appear to examine the mushrooms. He throws a load in. And he's like, "There you go, Squire, 1 gold. Well, I gotta put it."
I'll pay him.
The party continues on towards Tomegate. Jackdaw takes one of the mushrooms out of his paper bag, absentmindedly pops it into his mouth, chews and swallows. A few minutes later, as the acrid taste is fading, it starts to have a slightly strange effect on him, and his vision starts to get a little bit hazy around the edges as their journey continues.
Yeah, we're gonna bring out the goblin mushroom curry.
Continuing into the academically inclined ward of Tomegate, the party pass a group of 3 academics wearing long robes with thinning hair. As they walk past, a particularly pompous-looking individual says, "Well, yes, of course. I heard it directly from the head librarian. Killed one of the library guards and then just hoof." Vanished just like that. Caused quite the furore. Peakers are still not really letting people back into the place. Dashed inconvenient. I know a number of the college students are complaining about it. They've got papers to submit and studies to do, etc.
But I suppose it can't be helped. I mean, after all, a man's been killed, an investigation's got to proceed. And he leans in a little bit closer. I even heard that they had one of the witch hammers out there looking into the potentially infernal way that the assailant escaped, if you know what I mean. And one of the other academics is like, "Oh, are you saying that some sort of demonic arts were used to effect an escape?" Well, I'm not saying that that was definitely the case. I mean, I wasn't there directly, but I did hear it off the head librarian. Well, I heard it off the assistant to the head librarian, who heard it from the head librarian. But apparently this young woman just disappeared in front of the eyes of everybody and somehow effected an escape. And well, if that's not a sign of some sort of sorcerous malignancy, then I don't know what is.
That all sounds a bit dodgy, don't it?
Yeah.
The place is shut down. Definitely still far away.
As the group is pondering what to do next, Jackdaw spots a person walking down a side alleyway and entering what appears to be a barber. He witnesses the barber, bedecked with his razors and scissors, asking his customer what he can do for him today.
And I run full pelt back to the the group. Like,
Okay.
we need to go. There's a group of madmen out there with scissors. They want to shave off all my hair.
What are you going on about, Jackdaw? You're making no sense, mate.
No, listen. We need to go.
Go where? Why have we come here to go to the library?
Let's go to the library. There's a store full of madmen, and we have important work to do at the library.
Can I do some sort of medical check to see if I can work out what's wrong with him?
With his medical knowledge, the friar examines the sweating, panicked figure of Jackdaw and quickly reaches what he thinks is a fair assessment of what's wrong with his companion.
Okay. So maybe I'll just let everyone know that he's just the mushroom that he ate is had a nasty effect on him, and he'll be fine in a little while.
As the group approaches the Grand Library, they can see some peekers standing outside who appear to have roped off the entrance to the large, ornate, almost cathedral-like building. The peekers are wearing the surcoat showing the quill and inkpot logo of the Tomegate ward, and their equipment appears to be extremely maintained and well turned out.
Yeah, it wouldn't do to have all scruffy peekers rubbing shoulders with all the knobs.
As the group are considering their next move, they see a carpenter with a small cart walking down the street, whistling a jaunty tune.
Right, Chip, how you doing?
So, good afternoon to you. I'm well, yourself?
Yeah, not so bad, not so bad. Just taking in a few of the sights, and I'll be like flashing my new ring there, sort of. Just taking in a few of the sights, you know.
He leans over and he sort of like peers at the ring you're wearing on your finger, and he's like, "Oh, that's extremely well crafted." He says, "If you don't mind me asking, where did you get it from?"
Oh, just back down the road there at the jeweller's. Rather tidy looking outfit.
He says, "Oh well, it's superb craftsmanship." He says, "I take it from the insignia on it that you're from Slaughter Ward."
Yeah, my family's from there. We're some big old movers and shakers back over there in Slaughter Ward, you know.
He says, I've got a cousin who lives in Swine Ward, practically neighbours to you."
Oh yeah. Oh, very nice.
What brings you up here to Tomegate?
Oh, well, we come to see the sights. Thought I've got some learned friends. Thought we might have a look in the library, but seems as though it's all closed up. Don't know what's going on.
He seems to be like warm into, like sharing stories, etc. And he leans over and he says, "Well, way I is," he says,
you know how like they don't use the Peekers normally for like patrolling inside like the Grand Library. They've got like their own like house guards or whatever. I don't really deal in that, but so sometimes I have a bit of work in there. You know, like repairing like the shelves and just like the tables and doing a bit of odd jobs here and there. He says, well, way I is it. One of the house guards found one of the cleaning women sort of rifling through some books that like people aren't supposed to be rifling through. You know, the ones you need like special permission from like the college to have a look at. And well, when this guard tried to like pull her up on it, well, I heard that she killed him, straight up killed him.
Bleeding hell.
He said, well, but when there's someone like the rest of the house guard, just like vanished, just like that. Like right from under, right from under their noses. That's what I heard. And he says, "Well, it caused ever such a furore." He said, "Oh, they had like the Witch Hunters Guild down. They had the Peekers down. So, like, shut the whole place up while they're like investigating it and having a look into it." He says, "Oh, they had librarians in the right tiz about it. You know, saying like, oh, he can't have his library cut off from the students. You know, he said, you know, you can't let things like that get in the way of like learning and all that."
Blimey. Sounds a bit serious to me, that. Vanishing like that. Straight up, poof, poof, smoke gone.
Yeah. He said, where I is, it says the witch hammers, they've even talked to old Snert, the head of the college. He even had like him in for question. He said, well, he's a sir, isn't he? You know, like, and all that. Like with the sword and everything from the Queen. Got to be serious business, you know. You can't just go around questioning like people like that.
Nah, blimey. But who'd have thought? And yeah, it's the old cleaner, you reckon, isn't it? They reckon it was a cleaner.
Big Mick continues his conversation with the carpenter, who says that they'll be lucky to get in the library with the Peekers guard again, although maybe for the correct financial leverage they might be able to get in. Big Mick wishes the carpenter well and they part company. He heads back over to his friends and suggests that maybe the lieutenant and perhaps the friar might be able to fast talk and or bribe their way past the Peeker guards on the library door.
I'll keep walking as if they're going to part as I get closer.
As you get closer, they should do that thing where they like put their spears like across each other like that to bar your progress. And one of them says, "Sorry, sir, I'm afraid we can't let anyone pass this rope. Crime scene, you see."
I'll look surprised at them. Did Malafort?
Malaburn.
Did Malaburn not tell you of our arrival? Not just to the friar.
No, sir. I'm afraid we've not received any word from the Witch Hammer that he was going to be sending anyone.
Has he arrived as yet?
No, sir. Last I heard, he was still seeking the murderer.
This is a funny situation. He asked us to accompany him here, and if he wasn't here, we should wait inside.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to ask you to make me a charisma roll, please, Lieutenant. Is charisma a primary attribute for yourself?
No.
Then you're looking at an 18.
Okay.
Is there any way I can assist?
That would be a good one.
I'll let you make a charisma roll as well, Friar.
Okay. Ooh.
So you step forward, Friar Dunstan, you know, to attempt to like back up the fact. Obviously, you're religious. The Witch Hunters are a religious organisation, etc. But they're like, well, I'm really sorry about that, sir. But unless you've got any signed papers from the Witch Hammer or he's here himself, I'm afraid we can't let him in. Is there anything else we can do for you, though, sir?
I'm patting myself, jingle jingle, and sort of raise an eyebrow.
Okay, you notice the Peeker who's been addressing you. He sort of his gaze lingers a little overlong on your bulging coin purse. Are you suggesting that you're going to offer him some sort of monetary incentive?
I am indeed. perhaps my papers may be written in gold.
Okay, how much gold are you offering them?
Probably enough for him to buy and get a lovely signet ring. So let's say 10 mil.
Okay, so I'll allow you to make another charisma roll. This time the difficulty will be 15. Okay, so in what manner do you like offer them the money, or are you just like?
Well, in the absence of actual paperwork, perhaps this extra money to benefits for your obvious abilities and skills in protecting this fine establishment. Perhaps we could make things easier for you this evening in the taverns.
Okay, so you can see that he's sort of like reaching out. He's obviously going to accept the like 5 golds and cross it off your sheet. So 10 golds and cross it off your sheet. But as he reaches out, he says, "If you don't mind me asking, sir, what's your interest in this whole sorry affair?"
Yeah. Apprentice investigators for the church.
He sort of takes the money and pockets it, and he says, "Well, look, again, I'm sorry, sir, I can't let you stay in there." He says, "Best I can do is I can give you like half an hour to have a quick look around." He says, "But then I'll need you like back out here." He says, I can't just let you stay in there indefinitely, but...
well, if he doesn't arrive within half an hour, then we shall happily leave.
He says, one other thing, sir. He says, before you go in, he says, what you might like to do is, you might like to have a word with Thomas Wayne. He's one of the guards. He lives a couple of streets over from the Grand Library. He's one of the guards who came in and saw the whole affair. Taking the guard's advice, the group decide to visit Thomas Wayne before going into the library. Following the directions they've been given, they arrive at an upmarket bookshop that Wayne is supposed to live above. As they walk in, they are met by an extremely well-dressed and flamboyant figure who walks towards them with a big smile on his face. Good afternoon, gentlemen. What can I do for you today? Nathan Limsey's the name. Finest books on offer. Scrolls, hardbacks. What would you like? And he sort of homes in on you, Lieutenant. He's like, I can see from your bearing you're a military man. We do have a fine array of tactical books here discussing military tactics through the ages. I think I even have a treatise on the old Goman war methods somewhere in the back there that I could probably dig out for you, sir. What can I do for you? Posing as agents of the Witch Hunters Guild, the party tell Mr. Limsey that they're actually here to speak to Thomas Wayne about the incident in the library. After a few moments, Limsey heads upstairs and comes back escorting a pale and shaken-looking young man wearing a nightgown and leads him over towards the party. Thomas, these are the gentlemen who are working with the witch hammer who wanted to see you. The sort of nervous-looking young man. He mops his brow with a handkerchief and he says, "Well, of course I'll do anything I can to assist an official investigation, but I have already told the witch hammer everything that I saw."
Yes, but he has asked us to follow up. My skills are somewhat different to the skills of the witch hammer, and sometimes we find that waiting a number of days kind of has helped bring more information back to the person who witnessed the crime.
Well, please ask whatever questions you will.
If you could just talk us through the events that led up to the death.
Yes, of course. I'm one of the I'm one of the house guards who we keep the library secure, the Grand Library. We patrol the grounds of the college as well. Obviously the Peakers have an awful lot of other stuff to do. So the college uses some of the fees charged to the students to hire their own guards to patrol their areas, etc. Well, on the day in question, I was on duty in the library itself, me and a few others, and I was just exploring one of the aisles, just having a look around, making sure everything was fine. When I heard a little bit of a commotion from behind one of the stacks, and then I heard what sounded like a loud thumping noise and a cry of I thought pain or distress. So I immediately ran around the side of the bookshelf, and I saw a young woman. She was holding the remnants of a smashed vase of some kind, and she was standing over the body of one of the other guards. And then, before I could apprehend her, she disappeared.
She disappeared.
Yes.
And nothing smoke, or did she just disappear?
No, she just disappeared. Now, as he's saying this, both Lieutenant Uffington and Fry Dunstan, you get the feeling that he's not actually telling you everything. His story up until the point where he said she disappeared was quite sort of detailed, and then he suddenly goes very vague when he's like, "Oh, and she just vanished."
Did she make any gestures, like casting magic or anything, holding out her hands?
He looks quite uncomfortable, and he says, "Well, I wouldn't really know about that, sir. I don't want the Witch Hunters Guild to think I dabble in any of that sort of forbidden stuff. I'm a good God-fearing man. I go to church every week, sir."
And I can tell just by the look of you that you are a man of God. And
thank you, Father. Thank you. It's all been very, very shocking and upsetting.
But these details are very, very important, and we just need you to trust that the right thing to do is to tell us exactly what you saw and everything that you witnessed.
He looks a bit sort of uncertain, and he says, "Well, since you're a man of the cloth race, I've not told anyone this, but as I ran round the bookshelf, the other guard who was lying on the floor, and he looks a bit uncomfortable again. And he says, have you ever heard someone taking their last breath, Father?" He says, I did a little bit of military duty, nothing too strenuous, but you never forget that last death rattle of someone when they're passing on. Well, as I came round the corner, the guard on the floor wasn't actually dead, but as I came round the corner, I swear to you, Father, on my life, in the sight of Gale himself and the gods himself, I'm not making a word of this up. As I came round the corner, I was looking at the woman over the body, and I was facing a normal blank wall, a couple of portraits of the old masters of the college, nothing untoward there. But as I came around the corner, I heard the last gasp of the guard as he passed away, and then I looked down at his body for a few moments, thinking maybe I could help him, but I realised it was too late. And then as I looked back up again at the woman, and please, I swear again, Father, I'm not making this up, I saw a doorway in the wall that, and I swear on my life, it had not been there a few moments earlier. The woman opened the doorway, went through it, and when I blinked, it was gone again. It was just a wall. I went over and looked at the wall, and there was nothing there.
And which wall in the library was this?
He says, well, it was the portrait gallery one. It has portraits of all the old previous masters of the college.
But
Okay.
we investigated afterwards. We could find no sign of such a door. But I swear to you, as I heard the death rattle of the guard on the floor, that there was a door there, a blue door.
Ooh, interesting. And what can you tell me of the guard?
Well, I think his name was. I wasn't very close to him. I think his name was Richard. He'd only recently started in the job, and more's the pity. I mean, he seemed a nice enough fellow. No, not exactly the sharpest tool in the box, if you know what I'm saying. But he seemed pleasant enough. I occasionally spoke to him, and we didn't really do the same shifts, but he seemed pleasant enough. I think he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay. And tell me, are there many men in the library with pale robes?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite with you, Father.
The robes that are worn by the librarians, what colour are they?
He says, well, they're normally a dark blue colour for the librarians. The various different departments of the college have differently adorned robes. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but it's a dark blue for the librarians. But
Okay.
almost dark blue, almost purple.
Okay. And are all the men, the librarians, are they all local? Or is there any foreigners here?
No, I believe they're all local to the best of my knowledge. I think some of the professors at the college come from more distant parts of the Haven lands, but I couldn't really attest to that. They mostly keep themselves to themselves, and we're given very strict instructions as house guards not to pester them or disturb their studies unless we absolutely have to.
And would you have ever seen men in kind of real paler robes in the library?
Not to the best of my knowledge, Father.
Okay. Have you any questions for our hero here, Lieutenant?
I don't think so. We know the location. I just hope that this door doesn't appear upon the death rattle of someone called Richard. Apart from that.
Well, let us go and have a look. And we will thank Mr. Wayne for his assistance and allow him to go back to his day.
He says, not at all. I said I'm happy to help out in any way I can. Thanking Mr. Wayne for his testimony, the group heads back to the Grand Library where they're met by the same two peakers. They are allowed in, although they are reminded that they have 30 minutes and no more.
Yeah.
You head into this large sort of grandiose space. There's murals on the ceiling. It's almost like a cathedral, but pretty much there's bookshelves everywhere. A lot of the walls are lined with shelves with various books on them. Some of them have like sort of shuttered doors on the front of cases that are like locked. You presume maybe those are the ones that, you need special papers to like look at. This place is like one of the most expensive looking places you've ever seen, Mick. Like all the floors are tiled, all the furniture's like polished, varnished wood. There's like Gloombug lanterns inside, sort of casting a steady like green light everywhere.
Is there anybody about?
There doesn't appear to be anyone about at the moment.
Because the report says that the girl had a copy of the book. She had a copy of something, didn't she? she was looking at. If I was to be able to unlock these doors, fellas, do you think these books could be of any use to you educated types?
It's certainly worth a shot, but we should definitely. I think if we probably need to find where she escaped from first, because that would be the box that she was rooting in.
I wouldn't come down and steal from this place.
Oh, well, I was thinking just to have a little look.
It would be good to find a book that we have the page from.
Because they said that door that appeared is not there now. And I'm wondering if she got involved in some sort of mumbo jumbo.
Certainly looks that way.
Okay, I'm presuming you guys are like having this conversation like while you're exploring, because Fry, you said you want to find the portrait, right? Okay, can you roll me a d6, please, Fry Dunstan?
Tree.
Okay, so it takes you about 15 minutes, but as you sort of search, eventually you arrive, you think you must be like at the far end of the building based on how far you've travelled, and you eventually get to what appears to be a large wall that doesn't have bookcases on it, and sort of just above head height there are what appear to be a number of, about that sort of size, like portraits of various different people lining the walls, sort of like little plaques under them with their names on, and you can see as you look through them that this is basically showing the various like heads of the Master's College throughout the years.
Okay. Is there any sign of blood on the floor or any indication of where the guard was when he passed?
As you look on the floor, you can see that on the tiles there is like it's obviously someone's tried to clean it up, but there is like a red stain, sort of like that's obviously seeped into like the cracks between the tiles that's on the floor.
Okay. So is there any locked books in here or any locked cases or anything?
You can see there's a number of like locked bookcases around, yeah.
Okay. So I will start looking at books around about where the blood is and suggest that Mick starts kind of unlocking doors nearby to see if he can find anything interesting.
Okay. As you've been like travelling through the Grand Library, you've worked out that like each of these bookshelves appears to have like books dealing with like a particular subject on them. And as you've been getting towards this sort of far end of the building, the texts have started taking on like a sort of a darker and more ominous tone, until as you're sort of like looking at the locked shelf nearest the area you're in, you can see that it appears to deal with various like heretical, like religious texts, sort of various like legends, myths, etc., which are deemed to be, and you would know this, Fry, they're deemed to be like potentially like dangerous according to the church, and therefore they're restricted to only sort of like noted scholars who are studying them for purely academic interests.
Okay. So I think we should try and open that and have a look at some of these books.
So do we have any idea what sort of a book or what sort of books we would be
I think
for?
we have a page from the book, don't we?
Indeed, you have a crumpled page that you think the young lady Gwenneth tore from one of the books, and like I say, it shows this sort of strange silhouetted figure with this like wide, almost Cheshire cat like grinning mouth on it.
So I think so. We have an idea of the size of the book, and
Yes.
I guess the color of the pages and stuff.
Yes, the color of the paper. I guess that's something. There's a lot of books in here.
It has to be in this area because this is where she was when the incident happened.
So I guess we'll better get to it then. Colin, you're muted in Zoom.
Is that literally the only thing that's on the page? that drawing.
Yeah,
There's no
it looks as though it was like effectively like a colour sort of like art plate that was in a book that she ripped out.
Okay.
So I guess we start going through the materials then.
Okay,
we
so
have to pick the lock first, right?
Yeah. So I guess Mick.
What are you implying, man?
I'm I'm better opening people.
Bodies, yeah.
It just so happens that I brought a few tools along with me for just such an eventuality.
Yeah. Could you lean on the door? Maybe it'll open.
Yeah,
Wink.
yeah. let me just lean on this door here.
okay,
You'll have to look away whilst I lean on this door.
Okay, yeah, he's shy. Let's look away again.
okay, so Mick, you need to make me a Dex roll. It's difficulty 14.
Is there a help thing in this?
rolling on the sheet, or do we establish whether you can roll the dice on the sheet, or
Yeah, you click kind of the picture of the dice beside Dex, and it should roll.
that works?
Yeah.
Does it?
We'll have to. It'll work if you. Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Boom. Okay, so in the time it takes you guys to like turn around, you literally see like Mick reach his arm out and there's a and it's open.
Okay.
Oh, it's just weren't locked after all.
With Mick having unlocked the shelf containing the forbidden books, the group begin to examine them, finding all manner of texts on demons and pagan gods, texts deemed too dangerous for those without special permission to read. However, as the friar is perusing the shelves, he notices that one of the books appears to be missing. Before they can consider this at greater length, an angry and flustered-looking young librarian approaches, and seeing them there, loudly and insistently demands to see their papers, making threats of what it'll do if they can't prove that they should actually be here.
Hold on, sir. I think you've got larger worries. You've got a missing book out of your library there, unless I'm very much mistaken.
He's like, yeah. So of course there's a book missing from there. It was taken in the recent events that occurred.
Well, that's
Who took it?
The person who killed one of the house guards, I believe.
The angry young librarian seems sceptical when the group attempts to tell him that the bookshelf was already open, saying that he secured it personally on his previous rounds and that he knows for a fact it was locked.
Well, look, it's open. And I'll gesture to it, open the door, shut the door, look, open. Plain as the nose on your face.
Not wanting to cause a scene, the group agree to leave. Jackdaw lingers behind for a few moments and then follows after them. As he walks away, he hears the angry voice of Jonathan, the junior librarian, exclaiming,
"This lock's been tampered with." And you can hear him sort of like, obviously you guys have like, you put their distance between you. You can hear him walking after it. He goes, It's a crime to tamper with the Grand Library and access forbidden texts. He's like, I'll have you all up on charges. And he's like, obviously walking after like you guys are like waving his finger about.
Yeah, I'll turn to him, like stop and turn. And is he like pursuing the group or?
Now, as you turn to look at him, he like stops because you're like the first one he's come across.
Yeah.
And he's like, he sort of like pokes you with the chest. He's like, I'll have to see you clapped in irons for this, you foreign devil.
First of all, I don't actually know if that's true. But what I do know is that we mean very little harm. Me especially. Like whatever offense you think we may have caused, it is with no ill intent towards you or this place or the repository of knowledge that you have here.
The junior librarian, Jonathan, continues to rant and make vague threats. Hearing the commotion behind him, Friar Dunstan decides to try and smooth the waters and steps in an appeasing voice, saying,
Now, my good man, I think that there's been a misunderstanding, and I think that it will go ill for you if you think that your word will stand up in court against that of Lieutenant Uffington and myself, a man of God. I think that we have no reason or no interest in these books, but that a junior librarian such as yourself is more likely to be considered to be interested in books of such a nature. So perhaps it is in everyone's best interest if we just go our separate ways.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll accompany you to the exit to make sure you leave, and we'll see what the Peakers have to say about this.
At which point I would like to punch him in the face.
You're going to punch him in the face?
Yes, please.
Okay, make an attack roll.
That's the hand of God.
The pimp slap of God.
Oh, this is such a bad idea. This is such a bad idea.
You need a ring with the sigil of the church.
I think you should
let
have
me just see.
slipped on Mick's signet ring. Like. Okay, and you're just punching him. Okay, so roll a d4.
So really, I'm not trying to kill him. I just really want him to be knocked unconscious.
Okay.
1, 2, 4, 3 points of damage.
Okay, you deliver him an almighty divine pimp slap across the chops, knocking him straight out. He doesn't even utter a sound, he just like hits the deck. With junior librarian Jonathan unconscious, Friar Dunstan is free to examine the wall where he believes that the mysterious blue door that Gwenneth spoke of appeared. He's able to sense a small amount of magic in it, and after a little bit of experimentation with his own blood, it seems that violence or some sort of sacrifice is necessary to summon the door. Pausing for a few moments, Dunstan considers his next move when Jackdaw pulls a knife and steps forward.
Like, put my knife into the calf of this librarian.
Unfortunately, the experimentation with the librarian's blood yields a little better result than that tried by the good friar. Slowly the friar starts to reach an inescapable conclusion about the nature and extent of the sacrifice that may be necessary. However, he seems unwilling to, or perhaps just does not want to, face up to what may be necessary to summon this door. Almost as though he's reading his companion's thoughts, Jackdaw makes a suggestion.
Okay.
Well, if you if you're like Mick and you want to turn away, I can do the thing with the librarian, and then we'll see.
As the others begin withdrawing, planning to leave, they leave Jackdaw alone for a few moments with the junior librarian. Jackdaw quickly stages the scene so that it looks like perhaps the junior librarian himself was trying to access the forbidden volumes. He risks a glance around and then leans over the unconscious form with his knife.
Just shanks the librarian while he's sitting on the chair, and continues carving so that a person could have gone like this and then done it to himself.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. You shank the librarian, he's already unconscious. Mm-hmm. He puts up no resistance. Keeping your eye on the wall, it looks exactly the same. Then you blink, and as you open your eyes, there's a blue door in the wall that you're facing.
Jackdaw summons his companions back, and as Friar Dunstan approaches, he sees the scene of the murdered librarian, along with the stage scene that Jackdaw has set up, including blood splattered on the wall, with several Gaulish insults and a curse against the head of Queen Elspeth herself.
So I will walk over and examine the door.
Okay, it looks like a normal wooden door, like I say, a sort of dark blue colour, brass doorknob on it.
Okay. So I'll look at the lieutenant, I guess, and I guess kind of looking for reassurance that I should open it.
God, don't you fellas piss about. God damn. Get out of the way. Open that door. Jesus. Jesus got shanked and you're messing about. Come on, open the damn thing.
Are you like opening the door?
Yeah, I'm going to step forward, open the door.
Okay, Mick sort of pushes you out of the way, turns the knob of the door, throws it open. Can you roll me a d20, please, Mick?
Save or die, huh?
Dead.
Okay. As you open the door, you can see into what appears to be a... Now, bear in mind, I said that you were at the far end of the building. There shouldn't be any more building. But as you look through, you can see it opens into what appears to be a large chamber with what appear to be these huge brass vats in it. About 5 of them in total. And as you look at it, you see that, like, hanging from the ceiling are these strange sort of like whisks that are sort of dropping down into the vats. And as you sort of like you look around, Mick, you can see that there appears to be different colour inks in the vats: black, red, green, blue, and the 5th one is weird. It's like when you look at it, at first you're like, oh, there's another black ink vat there, but it's not so much black. It's more like the ink is just like a hole in reality when you look at it. It's not just black ink, it's like a liquid hole.
It's not there. Ink.
Yeah, basically.
The best kind.
And as you're sort of like peering in, you see that on the side of each vat is like a brass tap at around about sort of like eye level.
Okay. Is there anything else in the room? Or just these vats?
Okay. Wow. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, roll me a d20, please, Friar Dunstan.
I wonder if that's what invisible ink would look like.
Okay.
16.
Okay, as you sort of like, you take like half a step forward and you're peering, trying to see around these vats, you can see that the far wall of this chamber that has like, almost like it's not like a door, but it's like an archway in it. The far wall has what appears to be like an array of like, almost like sort of brass gears, some like quite small, some very big, fixed on the wall. They all interlink and they all appear to be turning slowly. They appear to sort of stretch up into the ceiling, but as you look up, you see the ceiling appears to be so like high above you that it just like disappears into darkness, and these like cogs seem to be snaking upwards towards the ceiling.
Okay. What's the floor like? Is it different to the library floor?
The floor appears to be made out of wooden planks.
And the library was tiled, was it?
Yes.
Okay. Conveniently, I have empty vials.
Okay.
So what I would like to do is approach the black vat and turn on the tap and fill a vial.
Okay, you fill a vial with this black ink. It looks, I mean, you've seen ink before, it looks like normal ink.
Okay. So then I'll try the red.
Okay, you pour a little bit of the red ink, and as you're doing so, like a tiny little bit of it like splashes on your hands, and it stings a little bit when it touches your skin. Doesn't cause you any real damage, but it's just like a bit like...
Okay. And then I'll try the green.
Okay, yep, you pour some of this like lime green ink into a bottle.
Okay, and then the blue.
Okay, you, again, dark blue ink into a vial.
Okay, and then I'll try the fifth one.
Okay,
gold one.
you pour this sort of, it's oddly viscous and sort of thick. You pour it into the vial, and as it slithers out into the vial, there's a sound like
a multitude of voices all screaming in pain that emanates from the ink, and then as you put the cork on, it goes silent.
Okay. Can I rather belatedly cast Detect Evil?
Yeah, you cast Detect Evil. Most of the ink's fine. They're, unsurprisingly, the screamy black hole ink, evil as fuck.
Okay. And what about the red? The red was fine, was it?
Yeah, all of them seem fine apart from the black hole ink.
Okay.
And as you cast sort of Detect Evil on it, there's and you think this must be part of the spell because you didn't notice it before, that there's a distinct whiff of sulphur and brimstone as you sort of look at this ink.
Mm.
Does it look to the way out of this room?
Yeah, you can see that, like, sort of this room stretches for a long way, but you see there's like numerous like arches that you can't really see beyond, but there seems to be numerous different ways you could head out of this chamber. And obviously you're technically not in the chamber, you're still sort of stood in the doorway at the minute, although the friars had to step in to get the ink.
I'll step through.
Yeah, I'll go in as well. I sort of follow him with a friar. I'm looking to see if I can see anything written on them vats whilst he's taking samples.
Okay, so as you sort of move round the other side of the vats, Mick, you can see on the one that has the normal black ink in, there's a label that just says mundane.
Mm-hmm.
On the vat that has the red ink, there's a label that says scarification ink. On the vat that has the green ink in, there is a label that says permanence. On the blue ink vat is a label that says hidden from the sun. And on the black hole ink vat is a label that says infernus.
Okay, I go back round the front. Friar, you might want to have a look at the labels that are on the back of these vats. I think they might give you a bit of a clue as to what you've got in them vials.
Okay.
And I can tell you that black one's mundane.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that's just normal ink.
As you're doing this, you suddenly hear from like outside the blue door, from in like the Grand Library, you hear shouted voices, and as you look out, you can see the two peekers, who obviously have sort of come inside to see what you guys are up to. They've just seen like a dead body lying near this blue door, and like can see you like through the door, and they appear to be like running towards where you are. So weapons drawn.
Step through.
Yep, you step through into this strange room full of brass vats. You can see like the doors open, these two peekers are running towards you, they've got their spears out.
Oh, for Jackdaw, are you coming?
Jackdaw was considering like further covering up the murder by like getting the body and taking it through the door.
There's only one thing to cover up this murder. More murder.
More murder.
I'm going for the triple.
I'm doing a hat trick, guys. No, I cannot stand up to two beakers. I need to assassinate them to have any chance. So, I guess we're retreating or like advancing. I don't know how that works, but because the lieutenant,
we can let them into the door.
Yeah, so basically everyone but Jackdaw is in this strange room full of
Yeah.
these vats of weird ink.
yeah.
You're sort of stood in the doorway, the blue doorway. Jackdaw and these peekers are like bombing towards you.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, I'm coming through, I guess.
I guess for the friar, it's in for a penny, in for a pound, right? So, my sense is that we should let these peekers come into this room with us and dispatch them because they've seen us, right? So if you want to go back to any sort of other investigations, you can't be associated with the dead body. So for the greater good, I feel like these two peekers are surplus to requirement. Grow the
So
hell
for-
on, alright.
So for my turn is I run into the room and I want to spend my action studying one of these speakers.
I understand.
Actually, can I cast a spell?
Yeah.
Okay, I will cast Soundburst, which is like an incredibly overpowered spell for a first level.
Oh well, that sounds great. That's what we need.
So basically what that does is it's a 20-foot diameter,
Okay.
and anyone in it takes 1d8 damage.
Okay. So what I'm assuming you're going to do is you're going to wait till like they're like, because obviously jackdaws come inside and out of the vat room. You're going to wait till they're just sort of coming past the door, and then you're going to be like, right, everyone else is behind me. Boom. There's the spell. Okay. So roll your damage.
Will I roll one or?
Yeah, just roll one, and we'll just do it to both of them.
Come on, max damage.
Oh, you're absolutely shit.
Okay, so as you sort of you dive through the door behind the friar, he holds out his hand, and there's this burst of incredibly loud sound, almost like God had picked up an electric guitar and just like thrashed out a chord on it. Although it doesn't really do much damage, it throws the two peakers like back out through this door, back into the library. The blue door slams shut with the force of this sound burst and vanishes.
Oh,
Leaving you all stood in this room full of vats and strange ink. And that is where we're going to end the session for this evening, guys.